Good morning, everybody. It's the 11th of November, 2023. I have a lot of information to put out, lots of news. You thought nothing was going on? Well, I got a lot of things to talk about. Anyway, I'm in Nyamiga here, and I'll show you across from the Galleria right now. A lot of banks over there, Hilton Hotel, and this way, it's a nice area. That is the Isle of Tears. I didn't know that when I was here before, but anyway, that is to signify those that died in Afghanistan, I suppose. Well, let's get into the news. There's so much of it. I really have to get moving on this stuff here. Okay. So, I have a little bit of a report on how to defeat Hamas forever. To totally defeat Hamas and forever. And of course, Israel, at the very beginning, they started out going on this track, but that was when Hamas didn't have any teeth, and they went astray immediately. Okay. And I was wondering sometimes, if the big shots are watching my videos. I remember one time, after I put something out, Sergei Lavrov said it nearly exactly the way I did it at one time in translation, of course. I believe it was translated that way. I don't think he was saying it in English. And now Elon Musk. Wow. Of course, these people don't watch my videos. I'm just kind of joking about that. But Elon Musk has gone into something that I started going into immediately. And of course, it is how to defeat Hamas. And I always say, whenever a conflict breaks out, the best way to defeat your enemy is by making them your friend. And then they're not your enemy anymore. That seems kind of obvious, isn't it? And that's about what Elon Musk is saying. But that's often easier said than done, of course, and sometimes the prospects are not very easy. In the case of Israel and Palestine, believe it or not, it is actually easy. It is actually easy. And sometimes these things are a lot more difficult, but when it comes over like a generation like that, and unfortunately the part that isn't easy is that these people have been indoctrinated and conditioned for a long period of time, and it's much like what happened in Ukraine. And of course, when the United States floods all these countries with weapons and money, it makes it even more difficult. But if that didn't happen, and of course it's a very good chance that it could stop. I mean, if you listened and took serious what the United States says, like for them to stop the bloodshed and all that sort of stuff, but of course it isn't serious. It's just for posturing because it's an election year. But let's get going on here. Jesus would agree. I'm sure that would be like a philosophy that Jesus would take, is make the enemy your friend. In my opinion, Jesus, he was probably the wisest being that ever walked the earth. And as we are told in Christian culture, 3 wise men traveled for the honor of his birth. And a lot of people don't focus on that. But Jesus was wise above anything else. I heard one person say that to me once, that Jesus was the wisest person that ever lived, and that might be true. And Muhammad, the Muslim prophet, from what I have been told, he is on record as saying that Jesus is the greatest that ever lived, the greatest ever. And you might think that was Muhammad Ali, the boxer. But somehow I don't think that Netanyahu or Biden comes close to Jesus. One of the greatest thinkers of our time, of course, Elon Musk, he's pretty much saying the same thing. Elon Musk doesn't get everything right, of course, and he has admitted when he makes mistakes. Politicians, they can't admit to making mistakes or their careers are over with. We're supposed to believe that politicians never make mistakes. Even some of the best politicians that I've known, well, not known actually, but that I have liked, they won't even admit that they've made a mistake. I remember Ron Paul. I've told you before I liked Ron Paul, but he said, "Oh well, The biggest mistake I've made is I just maybe haven't been as much, what was it? How did he say this? It was, I haven't been as much in support of liberty as I should. You know, his wife might say that he didn't put this toilet seat up. That was one of the biggest mistakes he's made, but nah, we can't get into that. And some people, Netanyahu, you see how he's doing this. You know, he's obviously made a mistake, and he will never admit that to himself, even though he's obviously made a mistake. What happens is they get a bigger hammer and they pound even harder to pound that square peg into that round hole. And he keeps pounding until they can say, see, it worked. I got it through the hole. I was right all the time. But Elon Musk, I guess you could say, he's saying that, in his own words, of course, but not in mine, in my words, Benjamin Netanyahu, he didn't only destroy the peg, he destroyed the pegboard. And the pegboard isn't just Gaza, it's much more than that. Oh, somebody might want to be begging from me. I hope not, this lady. Okay. What Benjamin Netanyahu has destroyed is any trust that any real humans may have had in him. May have had, but a lot of people don't. If you listen to what George Galloway says about Benjamin Netanyahu, you can see even Judaism is not behind him. And he's destroyed, of course, the peace process. And I don't know, anything that humans would like, Benjamin Netanyahu seems to have destroyed. Elon Musk recently said these things. It was in a podcast of somebody named Lex Fridman, that Israel should fight instead with conspicuous kindness. And of course, you know, that's basically what I just said, make them your friends. And if you realize, Israel actually founded Hamas. And how did they found it? They found it as a counterbalance to the Fatah party. And Hamas, mostly what they were doing, like I said, is supporting education programs and charity, things like that. Sort of a soft resistance in order to do more good things for Palestinians and maybe make things that actually help Palestinians rather than any kind of confrontation. And the Fatah, of course, were much nicer than what we have for Hamas right now, even though I don't think Hamas, I think they're still supporting education programs and things like that. You know, that was what they were founded to do, and of course they wouldn't want to stray from their roots too far. But I don't think they're nothing near what Benjamin Netanyahu says they are. I can talk about that, more about this attack supposedly on October 7th. I'll mention that, you know, a little bit later on. And this sort of a thing, it reminds me how communism became popular in Germany in sort of like the mid, what was it, around what years? About the 1880s maybe or so, you know, in Germany. And it was the communism that forced Bismarck to come up with socialist legislation. And that's how the world first got such things as paid vacation and workman's compensation and things like that. More benefits started under the first left-wing leader of Germany. More came about, more socialist, more of these benefits for people. Of the National Socialist Party leader called Adolf Hitler. He started having a lot of these programs like that, such a thing as Kindergeld. Kindergeld, you know, started from the Socialist Party of Adolf Hitler. Things like that, so. And I've mentioned, of course, before that fascism is from the left. It's not from the right. You know, we're told, oh, it's a far right sort of a thing, fascism. I've even asked people like that before when they were saying something to me, and I said, well, what is fascism? Well, it's kind of a race sort of a thing or whatever. I don't know what he said. In other words, he didn't know, and most people really don't know. It's how you're indoctrinated by the media And if you really just ask yourself, well, what is fascism? Yeah. And actually, fascism has nothing to do with your race and your skin color and anything like that. Fascism, as like Mussolini, Benito Mussolini, came out in 1919. He created the first fascist party of Italy, and of course, Mussolini was a socialist his entire life. And of course, it's maybe a little bit more economically minded form of socialism, actually, fascism. Isn't that strange how we think it's completely the opposite now? It's on the other side, and the socialism is on the other side of that, and you know, it's in fact, they are nearly one and the same thing. And you got to think of that when you think of like Hillary Clinton and especially Barack Obama. You know, oh boy. So anyway, fascism has nothing to do with your skin color or your race or your anything like that. It's like I was saying before, it is the marriage of corporate money to government power. And yeah, like I said, Obama, he started this transatlantic partnership, and that was fascism in one of the most advanced forms. You know, that was where profits rule over everything. Everything is designed for profits. And if you know that what was leaked, and remember Nancy Pelosi, oh, we can't tell you what it is, what the transatlantic partnership is. We have to pass it first. It's just like the legislation. We have to pass the legislation before we can tell you what's in it, what the legislation is all about. So in other words, when it's too late, when it's too late to stop it, then they're going to tell you what it's all about. Obama is once on record saying that if the American people found out what he's all about tonight, they would all be rebelling in the streets in the morning. And of course, maybe this is what he's talking about, is his, in truth, fascism, you know? But we are all hoodwinked. We're all hoodwinked into thinking something else is fascism. Donald Trump. But Donald Trump, he ripped up the transatlantic partnership on his first day, on his very first day. Oh, but he's alt-right. He's a fascist. I don't know. It's incredible how we are all fooled to believe exactly the opposite of what we should be believing. But that's one reason why I make these videos. So anyway, you know what it's all about. Nancy Pelosi, boy, oh boy. And what was she doing over in Taiwan? You know, you remember that? Her main goal of going to Taiwan was to visit the chip makers, so that, because her husband is heavily involved, invested into chip making, which means she is as well, because marriage is an institution, by the way. So anyway, she benefits handsomely from that. And she was there to make sure that maybe these guys can bring that over to Arizona, I believe, and start their own chip company and to expand into that. In other words, to make more money, of course. And she's in government, and that's about making money. So anyway, Nancy Pelosi obviously is a fascist too. And she's one on the personal level, not personal, very personal. Actually, what we're seeing between Israel and the Palestinians, it's actually not fascism. I'd say that's more like racism, maybe genocide, but it's definitely, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that's called ethnic cleansing. There's no denying that. That is in its purest form is what's going on. I mean, you can look in a textbook and say, that's exactly what it is. So, you know, Israel's not just terrorizing Gaza, they're terrorizing the West Bank as well. You know, breaking into homes, they're shooting people, lots of violence going on there. Ethnic cleansing. God's chosen people, the master race, are ridding the land of the criminals, of the animals actually, the terrorists. And it's I think the Old Testament, I believe, was because some person, they're practically a preacher, they told me, you know, because I said I didn't agree with everything in the Old Testament, and of course he's angry. He said, you're not a Christian. You know, you have to believe everything in the Old Testament to be a Christian. And I don't know, I don't even believe everything in the New Testament. And I've heard from a lot of people, see, I'm not an expert on any of this stuff, but I have heard that even the New Testament has a lot of errors, and they ad-libbed a lot of stuff. There is no records, and they never have existed, of a lot of the stuff that is written in the New Testament even. They just ad-libbed and kind of filled it in. A lot of Christians are going to hate me for saying this, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry for saying that. Instead, I like Jesus. I like Jesus, and I look at his actions, not just even his words. He's got some fabulous words. Sometimes they're very difficult to understand. And if you look at the book of Thomas, which of course was rejected into the New Testament, and well, there are other books that were also rejected, and some of them, a lot of them, I guess they were even destroyed. A lot of these books of the Bible, the lost books of the Bible, apparently. And of course, there's the Ethiopian Bible and things like that. And I'm not any big scholar on all this stuff. I'm just telling you the little things that I do know. But if I see some things from Jesus that are undeniably true, that they're just, in their wisdom, they are just, you just can't refute them. And those are the things that I find, very compelling. So, like I said, I'm sorry for a lot of Christians that I say that, and Muslims. I'm not a Muslim either. I'm really not anything. I'm just a humanist. I like humanity, and I don't want to hurt anybody. I mean, a lot of you have already turned off the video, so the ones that are Christians, and I had a lot of Christians and that used to watch the video, but like I said, I don't know. I'm much different than anybody else that you'll ever meet, probably. So let's keep going. But anyway, the Old Testament, they call the Palestinians apparently wild donkeys. Wait a minute, a donkey's an animal. So, like I said, that's what I don't agree with a lot of things in the Old Testament. To me, they look pretty much human. And guess what? Palestinians, a lot of them are the descendants of Jesus. Jesus had brothers and sisters, and those brothers and sisters had children, and there's who knows how many of them are running around today that if you trace them back, that you will find they are direct descendants of the man called Jesus. So I guess we're supposed to call them wild donkeys if you believe in the Old Testament. So I find these people that call themselves Christians. They call me not a Christian. I'm not proclaiming that I am or am not. I believe actually in the teachings of Jesus. I don't know what these Christians believe in, but I thought Christianity was something to do with Jesus, but apparently not. So, like I said, I'm just talking. I'm not really that much into religion. So, a little bit, I guess someone told me I'm a lot more into spirituality, but anyway, I don't know if that's good or bad, but so anyway, enough said on that. But I don't think these, I wrote in here that I don't think that these relatives, the descendants of Jesus, they jumped on the Soros train and went to Germany, and all the ones that are left there are just the wild donkeys that are, whatever. But another thing that Elon Musk said, and of course it's very true, is who is recruiting all these people into Hamas? Who is the main recruiter? Is there a main recruiter? Or is there a lot of recruiters? I mean, the main recruiter, he said, he didn't say the word recruiter, but the one who is growing Hamas more than anyone else is a guy named Benjamin Netanyahu. The things he is doing is what makes Hamas bigger. And it makes them more radicalized, I might add. The single person that has done more for Hamas than anyone else is Benjamin Netanyahu. Nutty Yahoo. And there's another, it raises a question with me. When you talk about all these people from history, or even some of these people that are contemporary, these people today that have a lot of blood on their hands. Like people talk always about Adolf Hitler this and that. But when you find out that Adolf Hitler, as far as Jews in Germany, I think, like I said, the official Red Cross records, I think it was 175,000 if you really push it, that supposedly died in the concentration camps or whatever. And like I said, I'm not apologizing for Adolf Hitler, because under German supervision in this country of Belarus, thousands and thousands of people. Well, as a matter of fact, I'm sure over 1 million people perished. And they never talk about Belarus. Belarus, I believe, lost more people than Poland, more people than Ukraine. But for some reason, they never mention Belarus. We'll be getting into that when I join this man called Dave on our podcast, and that's one thing that he's really into, like finding out the real destruction of what happened in Belarus in those days. So, like I said, the numbers are probably much higher than in Poland or anywhere else, certainly higher than in Germany. And the people that were the very best, they brought them back to Germany and they basically enslaved them and made them work for Germany. A lot of horrific things. You'll hear about that so you should actually subscribe to the channel. This one right now, and at least so you'll hear the notifications when the new channel starts, which would be called From the Other Side. And there's already a Telegram. If you go to Telegram, you would be surprised if a lot of people start joining based on this video called From the Other Side. There's actually, I think, 3. There's a chat and another one. Well, actually, maybe just 2. So go to Telegram, From the Other Side, to get a start on that. And then you'll see a little bit on how this is all progressing, and that we should be starting sometime next week from the studio. If not, maybe from sometime outdoor or just at a rudimentary setup. We might be making a video. I was thinking maybe we'd do it this week. I don't know. Some setbacks happened, but we'll see. Okay, like I said, it's worth questioning. Like, who does have the most blood on their hands? Is it Adolf? Is it Zelensky? Or is it Netanyahu? You know, that'd be kind of a close competition there. How many people have? I guess, you know, obviously Zelensky has far more blood than anybody. There are so many people. He has decimated. He might be, in a roundabout way, you could say that Zelensky is probably the biggest mass murderer in world history. How many people has he sent to their death? How many Ukrainians? He's supposed to be the president of Ukraine, and he's killed more Ukrainians. He's responsible for killing more Ukrainians than any human in history. So just leave that one at that. Benjamin Netanyahu, he's got lots of blood on his hand. He's been around for a long, long time. And, yeah. And, well, let's keep going here. I got so much stuff to go. He said, like I can quote, "If you kill somebody's child in Gaza, you have made at least a few Hamas members who will die just to kill Israelis." That's possible. These people are not like Josie Wales, you know, whose family was killed. You know, this is a whole different thing here. These are not just a couple outlaws or 5 or 6 or whatever Josie Wales had to go after. This is a whole ideology. And a lot of people have been infected, just like in Ukraine. Really crazy stuff. Netanyahu has so radicalized the Israelis that is obviously his goal. And we might actually need a Gandhi or something to try to get us back. Elon Musk also said, "For every Hamas member you kill, how many did you create? And if you create more than you kill, you've not succeeded." And a lot of people are calling for Netanyahu to step down, and there are even world leaders saying that he should be put on trial for war crimes. You know, but then they're talking about Putin doing, you know, for war crimes. You know, it's actually a totally ridiculous thing, and there's nothing is based on nothing. Oh, but he's such a bloody leader, and of course we don't like his. I mean, yeah, right. Those are people that don't understand what's going on. But you have to say that, you know, politicians, everybody has to say that to make it sound like, yes, we all agree, Putin's a brutal killer. And most people know that he's not, even the people saying that stuff. But you think about all the other people that we should be going to be put on trial for war crimes. You got Tony Blair, phony Tony. You got George Bush, and particularly Barack Obama. You know, the peace president. The peace president, how many wars did he launch? You know, a lot of these people, you know, they're laughing and playing golf while they're, you know, bombing people with drones or whatever this deal might be. And, you know, like I said, Trump, apparently hates Muslims. At least that's what he, what he appears to hate Muslims. But I don't know. He didn't. He killed Soleimani, and I think a lot of people that were around him. Which, technically speaking, Muslims don't do that. They don't kill innocent people. But of course, we're not supposed to know that. That's a big secret. We're supposed to say that they kill innocent people too. Biden is on the list. He can be tried for war crimes. Big time too. Wow. Hillary Clinton, boy, oh boy. Ha ha ha. We came, we saw, he died. Ha ha ha. That. Boy, I shouldn't be laughing about that. And of course, Biden, Ukraine is his pet project. That's Biden. That is Joe Biden. He created the whole thing himself and loves it. He's making a lot of money. He's becoming, I don't know, maybe he's a billionaire already from that. Alexander Dugina, this is really something. He recently wrote an article called Russian Motives and the Specter of World War III. And remember, he's the guy that Ukraine killed his daughter in a terrorist attack in Moscow. His daughter, Darya Dugina, worked with John Mark Dugan, making documentaries and things. Okay, but anyway, in this article, he's stating generally that Putin's multipolar movement is clearly favored over the U.S.-dominated unipolar world. He went on to say that the violence in Palestine is also a manifestation of the U.S. seeking to desperately continue their control of the Middle East through the hatred and the threats of annihilation if these Muslim countries continue to seek independence from the U.S. Western hegemony. But Putin's popularity lends precise meaning and clear justification to his strategic decisions. And as I just stated, based on Elon Musk's opinion, the United States strategy actually brings the opposite. So we can ask, what will win? Will Putin's strategy win? That all nations are allowed to be independent, think for themselves, make their own friends, their rules? Their own rules, yeah, like the rules-based order that nobody knows of. It means just do what the U.S. tells you to do. Or will the U.S. strategy win that requires nations to do as they are told, and all major decisions must benefit the United States if it demands? So which one would you choose? I guess I think Russia's a little bit better, and that's why it's probably a lot more appealing. And as these people, they all get together, their strength in numbers. I think that was from the United States Revolution. We either hang together or we hang separately. Dugina states that the violence of Israel as a U.S. proxy guarantees that the moment of Islam is coming. They're all band together now. It is a war between Islam and the Western hegemony. He also said, and I didn't write it, but that they are becoming a major part. One of the major pillars of the multipolar world is Islam. So think about it that way. If you don't like this, if you don't think that you have actually a religion becoming part of one of the pillars of the multipolar world, you can thank Biden. You can thank Biden for that, nutty Yahoo, and maybe even Trump a little bit. He states that based on his knowledge and experience with the Israelis, they won't, catch this, his opinion here, they won't stop until, the quote would be, I'll say it how he said it. As a matter of fact, I'll start walking the other direction here. He said, there is no doubt that they will not stop. Israel will not stop until they eliminate the Palestinians. And he said, I'll just be a little bit concise. He said that World War III may right now be underway. And remember, he's actually a very well-looked, revered philosopher. And like I said, along with this, of course, he's actually pretty much right. There's a big meeting today, I believe it's today in the Middle East of a lot of Muslim leaders, and this is maybe the first time in a long time Bashar al-Assad has landed in Saudi Arabia and is warmly greeted by the Saudis. Bashar al-Assad, the Christian president of Syria. I throw that in there, Christian, because everybody, I don't know. I'll stop right there. And I don't know. That's another can of worms. I won't get into that. Gosh, I got the wind blowing right in my eyes here. I have sensitive eyes. And this meeting of all these Arabic leaders, did I say Muslim? Arabic leaders, is all about this conflict between Israel and Palestine. I didn't say Gaza, I said Palestine, because it's actually what it's all about. And of course, by connection, it's also Jordan and it's also Egypt, because if Israel doesn't annihilate and kill off all of the Palestinians, there has to be some place to go. And there was, who was it, Norman Finkelstein? There was like an online debate between Norman Finkelstein and some other joker or something like that. And this guy was so smug, saying, ha ha, to Norman Finkelstein, I mean, that ha ha, nobody wants to take these Palestinians, ha ha ha. If they like them so much, why don't they take them? And Norman Finkelstein really put him in his place. He said, well, that's what Hitler said about the Jews. So, and of course it's not even true, because how many millions of Palestinians live in Jordan? How many, hundreds of thousands of them, millions of them are all over the world, a lot of them taken in by the Muslim nations. Who was it? There's even some big political leader in South America who was actually Palestinian. Can't remember who that is. The Sunday Times of London has stated that Israel is still seeking to create an ethnic weapon. Now, this was some really heavy stuff, and I've been seeing this. A lot of people are posting this around. And it's also true, and I've been talking about this for a long time. This has been going on for more than a decade. They're trying to create a weapon, ethnic weapons. I guess you could call them genetic weapons. I don't know what these guys are stopped in here. And the USA, of course, Ukraine is involved in this. Israel is heavily involved in this. And USA, Israel, I don't know what these people looking at me over there. I guess people hear English, I don't know. Okay. And of course the Ukrainians have been very unsuccessful at this, because the genetics of Ukrainians and Russians are very much intermixed. And they did an experiment, I think it was like used 48 Ukrainians, and all but one of them died. And I don't know what that one is going to be telling them, because they infected them all with viruses or something like that. And of course what they're trying to do is to kill certain ethnic groups. The Israelis have been trying to find ways, and of course most of them are European anyway, and they want to kill off the Arabs and take all that land and everything for themselves. So, but they're still working on that one. And the United States, of course, I mentioned this before. I hate to sound like a broken record again, but it was even Sergei Lavrov and Vladimir Putin talked about that when it was reported that the United States Air Force at that time had been taking, they've been going around and taking blood samples of ethnic Russians. And they were asking, what are you doing with all these different groups of ethnic Russians with these blood samples? And the Air Force, as far as I know, that's a military. That's part of the military. That's not, they're not out for any kind of humanitarian things, are they? It's out for defense, I guess. And defense in the United States is offense. Oh, here they're coming back again. Anyway, the sources of this Sunday Times article was using the Israeli military and Western sources as well. Yeah, like I said, and they're also trying to kill off Chinese. Arabs, Russians, and Chinese, I think, are the main groups. I don't know. Yeah, but well, let's see, where am I here? Well, anyway, these things are supposed to leave European and maybe some other groups unaffected. And then you got to also realize a lot of these politicians, rich guys and stuff like that, a lot of them have the genetics of some of these groups that they're trying to kill off as well. So it's going to be very difficult. You're going to have to be very selective. And you know, when you create these viruses, you know, a lot of time they die out, not just because they're created, but that's how a virus reacts anyway. If you guys take biology and all that, they want to keep spreading, and of course, and when the host dies, it doesn't. That's not good for the virus. So they start to spread a lot more, and then when they spread, they're weaker. They have to weaken to spread, I guess, and then I don't know. Then they won't be killing off the host anymore, but people will get these viruses. And just talking. But anyway, the ones that they're coming out with, that the United States has been mentioning, that the fatality rate of the ones that they actually already have, believe it or not, they have these weapons, and they say that the fatality rate will be like 50%. So when they infect a population, and I'm not sure if that 50% means that, well, if it'll kill off 50% of the people, or say if they want to infect the Chinese, will it kill off 50% of the Chinese genetically based people? I don't know. But anyway, that's what the article is saying. And of course, Russia and China are speaking out against these weapons, of course, because it's aimed at them. I mean, Arabs, I guess they would too. And whoever, anyone. Maybe black people, maybe they want to get Africans, you never know. And Kamala Harris would be part of one of them too. So, and the article also said that the United States and Israel, of course, they've been collaborating on that for decades, trying to find these genetic weapons to kill off certain people. I guess, you know, that's what the nice guys do. So nice guys are the ones that want to kill everybody in this Orwellian world. Isn't that incredible? It makes you sick, doesn't it? Okay, and so far, at least when I read this news this morning, they have it's been 11,187 deaths in Gaza, just Gaza alone, since 7th of October. Israel had lost, I guess they revised it down. Remember, they were saying on the first day 1,400. Well, now it's 1,200. You know, so now they probably realized how many actually died, and of course, at the hands of Israel. Most of them died on that October 7th anyway. I've already said that, and they're starting to realize that. So a lot of the witnesses are coming out. Some of these hostages are getting freed by Hamas are saying that. They come out and they admit it right on videotape. I've seen 2 of them that they said that the Israelis were the ones killing most of the people, and not the Hamas, believe it or not. These evil, brutal, killing Hamas people. Incredible. Yes. So that's, like I said, part of what I was going to say. I already said that. A lot of them are even coming out and saying that Bibi Netanyahu is behind it, the killing of these Israelis, and of course this whole conflict. And that's pretty obvious. This seems to be some sort of a plan, you know. And to talk about the reporters, where is that at? They and a lot of people are wondering, why is it that the New York Times, CNN, Reuters, and Associated Press, they had reporters there. They had reporters there before this thing started. And who was it? Gant was saying, well, these people, they should be tried for crimes as well because they didn't report it to us. Well, geez, you know, I think if you look a little bit more deeply into that, you're going to find out that there's something else going on here. The whole story hasn't come out yet. The entire story has not yet come out of who and why and all that sort of a deal. Israel bombed 5 hospitals in one night. I think it was the night before last. 5, and lots of schools. And I think they even bombed another hospital last night. They're hitting the hospitals. They're hitting the hospitals more than anything else. And it looks like that's the main goal, are schools and hospitals. Incredible, you know. But they're the good guys. Like I say, that's what the good guys do. And boy. Also, the United States, they've spent, this is different subjects now. The United States spent $4.1 billion between October 1st, 2020 and September 30th, 2023 on making America gayer, more gay. In over 1,100 grants, $3.7 billion for LGBT, $478 million for transgenderism grants, you know. I mean, you think that there'd be other better ways to spend the money. And why do they just come up with this stuff? Why, I don't know. Need I say anything else? You figure it all out yourself. What's the money going? $4.1 billion to make people more gay. My God, And well, along with this, with their great reasons for spending money, where their prerequisites are at, where their priorities lay on where they should spend the money, Moody's has downgraded the United States forecast, the U.S. economy, to a minus. They're in minus. So Belarus is 3.5% GDP growth, supposed to be. Russia is, I think, 2 point something, and the United States is in minus. Oh boy. And Germany, as you know, Germany is doing very, very poorly. Scholz, the German leader, he came out and he's saying that Germany must prepare for war with Russia. He said that already a couple of weeks ago. He's even saying a lot more. And you don't have to wonder why. He wants oil. He wants oil and gas. Incredible. So let me sit down here for a while and finish some of this stuff. But part of this is also to compete with Poland. Poland has said that they're going to become the #1 military power in Europe in a very short time, and they're building up as much as they can. And I think Lukashenko, the leader of this country, he congratulated the Poles just recently on some sort of an event, and he said he wants to, get rid of these hostilities and, a lot of peace things. But of course, Poland says no. They want to overthrow the government of Belarus. How many times have they come out and said that? Just like Victoria Nuland, we're going to continue to try to overthrow Lukashenko. Incredible. Well, a lot of these countries like Poland and Germany, they're ready to do the bidding of the United States, send their people off to die in a war with Russia. They have to kill the Russians. Damn those Russians anyway. Boy, oh boy. And means Belarus as well. And of course, after that, after they are the useful idiots, just like Ukraine, they're sacrificing the Ukrainians. Then of course the Poles are next. They got to get rid of these Slavic people. Like I said, just like when I studied in history back in the old days, the reason for the Holy Roman Empire was to keep the beginnings of that, at least on the eastern side, was to keep the Poles or the Slavs out of Europe. Now, Israel announced late yesterday that they are going to take full control of Gaza. Remember when the United States said just a couple of days ago not to make it permanent? So it tells you how much they actually listen to the U.S. Or is this just some kind of a crap and the U.S. says that because it's an election year, to make it sound good, like, we're humanitarian, and you don't know. I don't know. None of us know. It's just some empty words anyway. And of course, Israel wants full control, and of course then they want to exterminate them all and take that. They'll take all the land. They want everything there. So this is all just a bunch of fake news jokes coming out of these countries anyways. Like I'm just saying, though, the only thing is you don't know what the heck these people are planning, what they want. But it's not good. It's domination, it's money, it's power. That's the only thing you can count on. That's what it's all about. So it's not anything humanitarian. They love those people. It's none of that. Oh, Poland. Let's talk about their economy and things. They are now #1 in having the highest crime rate in the EU. And as far as Europe, not the EU, it's really strange because Belarus, where I'm at right now, they have the lowest crime in all of Europe. And it's right next door to Poland. And the Poles want to attack the Belarusians. Maybe it's for the crime of having the lowest crime. If that's what you want to say. You criminals, because you have the lowest crime and we have to make you like us. You can be like me. The Polish probably saying, and then a lot of this LGBT stuff. And of course, I think it's Latvia now is huge into the LGBT stuff. Also, this uranium particles in the air have vastly increased in Europe. Of course, west of here, not Belarus, but after the UK sent all those depleted uranium bombs to Ukraine, and then Russia, they had I don't think they knew exactly where this is, but they bombed one place, and it turned out that was the main storage. It was west of Kiev and east of Lvov, somewhere in between there, and they bombed this place. And there was a huge warehouse, I guess, full of these depleted uranium, all went into the atmosphere. And of course, they've recorded this all the way over in the UK, uranium particles. And if the UK has quite a bit, it's going to be far, far more in Poland and Germany. But of course, they're not telling us that. They don't want anybody to know that. There are now videos online. I'm coming to the end, so bear with me. There are now videos online showing Israelis putting Turkish tomatoes into boxes marked as products of Israel. And along with this, Iran has criticized Turkey for continuing to send oil and gas to Israel. You know, why are you still sending this stuff? They said. And it's really strange because you see all of these people. You know, there is Hezbollah and the Houthi of Yemen, Hezbollah of southern Lebanon. They are, so to speak, attacking Israel, I guess. I don't know if, you know, I think there are people that are dying. I think there are Israelis, and then of course there's always there's the Hezbollah. Some of them are dying as well, and the Houthis from Yemen, even though they're a long distance away, they have been sending missiles at Israel. But then you have these big countries such as Turkey, even Iran, and all the other ones, and they haven't done anything. But of course, those people are a lot more accountable if they get their nation involved in a war against Israel, which you know, then they're in big trouble, I suppose. So they're trying to be a lot more restrained. But it makes you wonder what this meeting is going to be all about now with these Arab nations, and it's all about this conflict. So let's see what happens after that. And actually, that's about all I have to say for right now, and my battery is just about dead because this is kind of a long video. But thanks for joining me, and sorry about all the news. There's so much for you to digest. But I'll see you on the next one. Thanks again. Bye-bye.